inner sutta that discourse on death. This is a very suitable sutta for Singapore. No? Sometime in our life we always borrow something and we got to pay back. So here the Buddha is comparing karma to something we borrow, something we have to pay back. Now, suttas are the most ancient records we have of the Buddha's teaching. And so, as Buddhists, sooner or later, you have to go back to the suttas. The suttas are our roots, in other words. Without roots, plants will die. Without roots, creepers will go around the plant and take over and kill the plants. And as you know, in religion, a lot of new things can grow after the founder has passed away for various reasons. One reason religions change is because they grow into a new society. So there are new demands, new ideas, new needs. Like when Buddhism went to China, Buddhism took up such a new form. It became very different from Indian Buddhism. It became Chinese. Any kind of Buddhism with a prefix in front is not Indian Buddhism. In other words, it's limited by the description. However, it doesn't mean that, for example, if we say Singapore Buddhism, it doesn't mean that, there's no Dharma at all. It is how we as Singaporeans practice the Dharma. Many of us like to study the suttas, for example. Many of us like to meditate. So in other words, whatever you call Buddhism, in order to express it in our own culture and times, right at the bottom of it, you must have the suttas, you must have the three trainings. The three trainings. Training of body and speech, that is sila, sila sika. Training of the mind, samadhi sika. And then the last one is wisdom training, panya sika. Yeah? One of the most important tasks we have as Buddhists is to make Buddhism available to as many people as possible. And you'll be surprised if we do that. Because Buddhism is not as difficult as it seems. Every month we have meditation courses in our center, minding center. And it's open to the public. So many people, they can't never meet them. Some of them are not, I've never known them before. Some of them are not even Buddhists. This period, this month, we have a very young person who came for meditation. First time in his life, his parents brought him, he's only 15 years old. And he found that he could meditate quite well, even though he's so young. I mean, one of the things is, for teenagers, to meditate is quite difficult. To get them to come to any Buddhist center is going to be difficult, right? But here we have this person who can meditate. So what I'm saying is, don't underestimate the beauty of the Dharma. There are a lot of people out there who do not really know the Dharma. Or some people, they assume, they think they already know the Dharma, but they didn't practice it. They think Dharma is only chanting or a certain mantra or doing a certain ritual. But there's so many aspects of the Dharma we should know. And the most important aspect, of course, is mental training. Why? Because all problems arise in the mind. The Buddha's teaching is about the mind. And one of the most important developments in science today, in human knowledge, is to understand the nature of the mind. So if you understand the nature of the mind, sooner or later you will have to come to terms with Buddhism. Whether you are a scientist, you are a materialist, the average Singapore, executive, or you're just a simple follower, you find sooner or later you have to come to terms with the teachings of the Buddha. So, Vesak is coming, as you know, right? So if you look at Vesak, what's the meaning of it? For me, for Vesak's reflection, I'm going to title it something like My Gratitude to the Buddha. And why am I so grateful to the Buddha? It's because the Buddha made the truth and salvation so simple and available to all of us. What the Dharma is teaching us is that in this life itself, you can be saved. You can be free from suffering. Not many religions tell you that, because other religions will tell you there are certain conditions. You must believe this, you must believe that. Yet the Buddha teaches us, he says in this life itself you can be free from suffering. If there are many ways, of course. I'm not talking about manhood. Okay, manhood is, of course, the direct way you do meditation and so on. I'm talking about as a layperson. I said, why am I grateful to the Buddha? As a layperson, as a family man, someone who's working, so to speak, doing Buddhist work. People like you. What have you all to be grateful for Buddhism? A lot of us often think that, oh dear, I don't think I can get enlightened in this life. It's so difficult, I've got so much things to do and so on. I've got so much desire, things like that. In one of the suttas in the Majjhima Nikaya, the Buddha gives a list of categories of practitioners. Number one is the Arhat, and there are many other kinds of saints, and then the women saints, and then the laymen, laywomen. Now the last one, the very last one is a very interesting category. In the last category, the word karma bhogi is used. Karma means sensual pleasure. Bhogi means to enjoy. Those who enjoy sensual pleasures. So here the last category of the Buddhist saints or saintly practitioners, they are called the lay people who are those who enjoy sensual pleasures. Well, we fall into this category. In other words, we keep the 5 precepts, we watch television, we go for holidays, we use money. So this is one category here. So we're not left out. In other words, even though we live this kind of life as lay people, we don't get jhanas, we don't keep the monks' rules, we keep the 5 precepts, you can still be awakened in this life. In fact, if we don't have this opportunity to awaken in this life, what's the point of being a Buddhist? We wait for future life or think of the future Buddha, but the chances of being reborn as a human being again or being reborn in the future Buddha's time, it's not that simple. But if you carefully look at the suttas, you listen to the Buddha's Dharma, the ancient Dharma from India, the method is very simple. Practice impermanence, reflect on the nature of impermanence regularly. And if you understand impermanence, there's no problem with life. Everything is passing, everything is moving. One of the very important aspects of reflection of impermanence has to do with karma. We all create all kinds of karma. Karma means what? It means deliberate action. Deliberate action. Karma is not a tricky topic. It seems to be easy. We often hear karma means intention, right? But what does intention mean? Does it mean if I'm driving a car and then it's very dark and I didn't see the way properly, then I accidentally knock down someone, then it's okay, the person is dead, it's not my fault? Yeah, maybe the intention is not there. But suppose if I'm careless, I know that it's a dark night and I didn't check my lights and I drove fast and the road is slippery after the rain. The chances of me knocking someone's out is there. So I didn't take that care, the mindfulness to be more careful when driving. So here we cannot say, oh, it's not my fault, I didn't have intention to hurt people. This is one problem. Then there's another problem. Let's say a butcher. This butcher has been killing. Let's say this butcher kills his own chicken or his own pigs. He's been doing it so often until he don't feel the idea that this animal is suffering, or he doesn't even have the idea that he's killing. He just doing it and that's it. Or maybe nowadays so modern, you just press a button, and this animal gets electrocuted. Does that mean he didn't commit? Doesn't break the first precept? So these are very tricky issues. In other words, we can still create bad karma without being conscious of it. Now this sounds rather frightening, you might say. Of course, don't worry, there's always a way out. But I'd like to tell you the terrible things first, okay? Why do I say that? For example, let's say if a father, or could be anyone, husband, very violent, habitually beats up the wife or the children. But he tells the children, no, I love you, but I have to beat you up. Or maybe he gets very upset over some problems in the office, or he gets drunk. Habitually he does it. So if he habitually does it, is it karma or not? Of course it's karma. So sometimes we do something so habitually until we forget it. So there you get the first hint. And the first hint of karma is habitual action. You got to examine your life. You ask yourself, what is the most habitual action I often do? Of course, one of the things you might say happily is you come here regularly every Sunday. And it's good to do that. Because whenever you come here, if you do the regular things to help this temple, like studying suttas now, you definitely keep the 5 precepts. Another thing about the karma of the 5 precepts is this. Some people think that if they don't recite the 5 precepts, that is okay. It's okay to break the precepts. That's not true. The 5 precepts are natural morality, pakati sila. Natural morality means what? The Buddha did not introduce it. Natural morality means no matter what religion you go to, even no religion, the idea that life is precious is universally accepted. The Buddha didn't introduce the idea that life is valuable. It's a universal idea. The Buddha recognized it. So that's the first precept, value of life. We have life, we like to own things. It gives our life quality. We support our life through work. So if someone takes away that wealth we have worked for, it's called stealing. Why? Because then we can support ourselves. And if everybody stole, then nobody will work. Again, it's universal morality. The Buddha recognizes that, the second precept. What about the third precept? Third precept talks about freedom of yourself, your body. We all must have the freedom to move around. We don't want people to molest us, disturb us. We have that freedom to say no. So the Buddha specifically formulated third precept as no sexual misconduct, because that's the worst kind of disrespect of the other person. The value here, of course, is the value of freedom. Freedom means the right to say no. Third precept. Fourth precept, very simple to explain. Fourth precept is the value of truth. All these 3 previous precepts must be based on truth. Otherwise, there's no point practicing the precepts. What about fifth precept? Fifth precept keeps our mind clear so that we can also practice the precepts better. And the fifth precept prepares us for mindfulness and meditation. So all these are universal morality. In other words, even though you don't recite the precepts, you will still incur karma. So how does karma work on us? If there is the presence of the 3 roots, greed, hate, delusion. So this is how we decide whether it's intentional or not. If we do an action that is out of anger, out of hatred, definitely it's bad karma. The question now is, what if we did that? We can't help it. We suddenly got very angry, someone did something very bad. Maybe it's our children, it's someone in the street. When we get angry, what happens? I mean, we all don't plan to get angry. You can plan to get angry, but you're not really angry. You're an actor. You can't plan to get angry. It just happens. It's like you have a lightning rod, So there's lightning out there, you will zap onto the lightning rod, right? And that lightning is your latent tendencies. Latent tendencies, anusaya, these are your past karma. Come from the past lives, present life in the past, your old habits. So all these old habits are something like stored inside us, so to speak, right? So in other words, if you have got angry before, you're likely to get angry again. That's how latent tendency works. So when a situation comes up which is similar to something in the past, then you get angry again. So you have no control. In a sense, you have no control when you get angry. That's very interesting to reflect, isn't it? You notice when you get angry, we have no control over it. Otherwise, we can just prevent it, Then you have mindfulness. Yes, it's possible. But usually when you get angry, you have no control over it. It just happens. So what do? We use what is called review knowledge. After the fact, we look back and say, wow, today I got angry. Should I got angry? What happened? Then you examine the conditions. Pachaya. Examine the conditions. What made us angry? Okay, the person did this, and I didn't like that because coming to think of it, it reminded me of something in the past. Something bad happened to me, so I reacted to that. So now I got to be more mindful. I should not get angry. So by examining this kind of experience, you become wiser, you're more prepared. This is the purpose of suffering. First noble truth. The noble truth, that is suffering. Suffering is not noble. But when you understand the nature of suffering, what it is, then that is the noble truth. In other words, suffering is not just there to cause us pain. It causes the foolish person pain, yes. But for the wise person, he will examine and say, wow, this is really bad, Why did it happen? In other words, suffering is our teacher. Suffering teaches us what went wrong. You got to apply the conditions of what went wrong to make this suffering occur. So remember, next time you have gone through a difficult patch, something bad happens, that is the drama waiting to teach you. You don't go around complaining to your friends. That doesn't help. You sit back, reflect. What happened today? What really happened? What are the conditions that made this suffering arise? And there's something to learn there. Now the third way to overcome these negative emotions is loving kindness. Regularly practice loving kindness. Loving kindness helped me a lot because I have to deal with all kinds of people. You may think that Dharma teacher is a less stressful job. I can tell you it's one of the most stressful jobs because people come to you with all kinds of problems. If you work on one company, you only got the problem with that kind of company, right? But for me, people from all kinds of company, or people who are not working, any kind of person will come to me with their problems. And I have to sit and listen to them, and I got to be very happy to listen and then make them feel healed. Because if they come to me, they see me very sad and look angry and look terrible, they won't be happy, they won't be confident, So you can imagine, it's not easy to be a Dharma teacher or to talk Dharma for that matter. So you need loving kindness. When you run a temple, you also need loving kindness. When you deal with people, you need loving kindness. Why? Because loving kindness is unconditional acceptance of other people. Unconditional acceptance is what? You accept people as they are. People appear to you in all kinds of different behavior, different character. Sometimes you don't like them, but we accept them unconditionally. In other words, we say, never mind. Never mind. We can still be friends despite everything. And then as you know people, you begin to see, despite their external negative appearances, they're actually good people inside. So this is what the Buddha is trying to tell us, that every one of us, from Angulimala to Sariputta, all those, even animals, they have this goodness in them. They're capable of rising up from their low level to become awakened. It's possible. So this is, in other words, even the worst person, if you use your wisdom and patience, you can help this person. But karma is a leveler. Karma comes to everyone. Karma works on everyone. No matter what religion you belong to or no religion, good and bad, karma will act on you. Karma will also act on even the saints themselves. But the saints, especially Arahat, does not create new karma. Only past karma will act on the saints when the conditions are right. But the saints are not troubled by it because their minds are so calm and peaceful. The Buddha, for example, he stood in a hot sun to prevent his relatives from being attacked, the river Rohini. Since he stood in the sun so long, the sun shining on the Buddha's head, he got a headache. You can't say, oh, because the Buddha, so he got no headache, no matter how much the sun shine on the head, no headache. Yes, the body suffers, but the mind does not suffer. That's the big difference. Now, if we get a headache, then we start getting angry. We say, why these people make me stand here, this and that. So body suffer, mind also suffer. But the arahats, the Buddha, no. Body suffer, mind doesn't bother. The mind is always at peace. So there's only one kind of suffering. Body. The nature of the body is unsatisfactory. So the great saints, the arahats, body suffers, the mind doesn't suffer. The mind is at peace. That's why the arahats do not create new karma in that sense. But past karma may come back. So in other words, it's like a debt we have to owe. So much so that the Buddha even say, if a monk is not yet a saint, whatever offerings he gets from you, from us, he uses these like something borrowed. So they owe you, or they owe us. So what the Buddha is telling the monks, you better practice, you better do what you're meant to do, you know. Right? So lay people support the monks. It's like you're lending them your marriage, so to speak. You give what, the 4 supports, right? Alms food, robes, shelter, medical care. Why? Because we don't give them all this, we don't support the monks because they come here do chanting or teach you Dharma. No, not at all. Even when you support me, you're not supporting me because I come here for a talk. That's not the way you should think, according to the suttas. What donations you make is because you have faith in the Dharma. You are celebrating your faith. You give of your faith. Otherwise, it is like rental, you know. You're like, what I call it? It's like business arrangement. I come here and you pay me so much, you know. Although this happens in some temple modern arrangement for some people. But the proper way is, it is given out of faith. There's a sutra on this, you know. It's called the Kasi Bharadwaja Sutta. The discourse on Bharadwaja the farmer. The Buddha one morning got up and then he meditated. He was ready for awakening that day. And then he noticed this farmer, Bharadwaja, is ready. So this man gets up early in the morning, go to his field, he was going to plow his field, or he was actually plowing his field, and the Buddha comes along. He stands there. Buddhas and monks never say anything when they come to collect alms. They never say, oh, please pity this poor Buddha, we are hungry. No, not a single word. They just stands there. It's a tradition. And then this farmer looks at the Buddha and said, so, what have you come here for? You want to collect alms? What have you done to deserve my alms? You know, look, I got to work for a living, you know, I plow my land and so on. Then the Buddha took that as the opportunity to teach Dhamma. To the Buddha, every opportunity is Dhamma. So the Buddha said, I too plow my field, I too water my crops. You know, this farmer suddenly got interested. They said, what is this Buddha talking about, you know? So here again you see the Buddha, number one, relating to worldly language, and then he shift gear, raise up to Dhamma language. So this Kasi Bharadwaja wondering, what is he talking about? Something new I never heard before. What is this? You know, Buddha plowing the field, planting seeds, and the Buddha saying, well, you know, seeds are the seeds is faith. Okay? And water is moral virtue and so on. So, what's it talk like that? Kasi Bharadwaja was very impressed. Then he said, wow, sadhu, sadhu, okay? He takes refuge. And then he offers the Buddha some cakes he has got. Then the Buddha said, sorry, now I cannot accept your offerings already. Because I got to convince you that the Dharma is like this, like that. So you're paying me now. So I can't accept, sorry. Because that's not the way we do it. I'm not chanting for this now. So you tell me, oh, I deserve this. No, not like that. So it's very important, the spirit of giving, see? So the meaning is, when you give someone, you feel, I've taken refuge in the Triple Gem, I feel happy to give. Another sutta on giving says, when you give, giving can mean anything. Even when you give your service here in the temple, you give your time, you You listen to people, you comfort people, say have no fear. Of course you give things, right? So many kinds of giving. The attitude is very important. The Buddha says the right way of giving to create real good karma is to tell yourself, first the bad one is to say, I put $10 in the donation box, may Buddha bless me, make me strike that $2 million lottery. I give $10, I expect $2 million back. That's cheating, isn't it? Right? Now whether that works or not, I'm not saying that's not the point, okay? The point is this, whenever you do something good, when you're doing dharana, the reflection must be this, the most wonderful reflection. Of course you can say, I passed my exam also, okay, you can say that if you want, you're a student. But even better than that, by this giving, may my mind be beautiful. May I be at peace. When I meditate, my mind will be calm and focused. In other words, what you're saying is, may I be mentally healthy. May I be able to focus my mind so that I will gain wisdom and then gain liberation. Because if your mind is strong, no matter what happens to you, if you fall sick, you heal quickly. If you face failure in work and business, you can always, what's the word they call, diversify. You can do something new. But if you lose your mind, no matter what good job you have, no matter how much money you have, it's useless. You see? Mental health is the greatest wealth. That's the greatest prayer you should have. And don't ask for small thing like $2 million, Ask for more. Meaning, may my mind be calm and clear and focused when I meditate. Or even when I don't meditate, may I be mindful if you find you have no time to meditate. Right? Wish for that kind of blessing. And you're telling yourself, when you tell yourself, your mind will listen. So that's good karma. Right? Now bad things still happen to us sometimes, especially when we are good, In fact, I noticed that the more good you try to be, the more suffering you will face. But this doesn't mean you should not be good, You might say, I better be bad at that. Yeah, sure, you want to be bad, you enjoy a lot of good things. That's why people like to say, how come when you look around in Singapore, all these bad people seem to prosper, good people suffer. So it seems. But look at the poor man who's taken to court, over some incident, affair and so on. Suffering, Suffering. So my point is this. When you do something really good, a simple thing like working on a committee in a temple, that's one of those terrible jobs, by the way. Running any temple, any church, any mosque, Indian temple, Muslim church, or Muslim mosque, whatever. Every committee got problem. So don't be too troubled by it. Why? Because when you do something good, there's always something bad will try to stop you. Today when I came out of my house, suddenly heavy rain, oddly heavy rain. I said, what is this? Mara working overtime or what? Trying to prevent me from coming here, I can easily phone and say, sorry, you can't come, heavy rain. And then, luckily my friend came to fetch us here. And the road, a tree fell across the road. Of all the days, right that day when we were supposed to come, tree across the road, 3 buses got stuck there, so luckily we have a U-turn. Of course, you want to look at all the problems and start cursing and blaming Mara. You can, Mara will say, why you blame me? You don't want to look for the way out. There's a way to U-turn and you can take another road. So what I'm saying is, if you notice all this suffering coming to you, that means you're doing the right thing. And some people don't like it, Like for example, I do all these suttas. Some people say, wow, you think you're so clever. How come you know all these things? I said, I love the suttas. I'm very stupid. That's why I want to study the suttas. I can't wait until I get my PhD, because it's too late. I just love doing the suttas, and I think after spending 5 years in Thailand, that's good enough. And now I've been doing this for 10 years, 11 years, I already finished 42 volumes. So now to myself, I'm going to stop at 42 volumes temporarily, so I can index the 42 volume. Because I can't find some of the notes already. So what I'm saying is, you will face a lot of problems if you want to do good. And that's the sign you are doing good. Don't give up. The next thing is, if you're doing a lot of good things, you sometimes feel unhappy. You feel unhappy. For example, you say, why can't people help us? We have so much work here. Why can't people be kind to us? Why can't people be generous to us? Or if you like to study suttas, you know the Dharma, you know meditation, you'll say, why do people meditate? Why do people study the suttas? Why do people like all the fun things? They think monks and Dharma speakers are entertainers. All they remember is jokes and laughter. After you say, what did the speaker say? Oh, he told a nice joke. So you're going to joke for a whole life. You're going to suffer. So, in other words, if you are really Dharma-minded, you will have uddhacca. Uddhacca, restlessness, is one of the hindrances. Only the Arhat can get rid of it. You see, this person who meditates very deeply, if he's able to get rid of almost all the defilements, that means he can become Arhat. But sometimes he would think, he would say, these people of the world are so hard to teach Dharma. Now if he thinks like that, then he will become Arhat. He will become only a non-returner. Uddhacca. Uddhacca means you feel that there's still more work to be done. There are people out there who don't take Dharma seriously. You're troubled by it. So it's normal that we are troubled by it. I'm often troubled by people who don't like suttas, for example. I'll never be an Arhat. I don't think I'll be a non-returner also. I'm quite happy if I can be a stream winner in this life. In fact, I'm quite convinced I'll be a stream winner in this life. This is one thing I can tell you without making the present. By basing my understanding from the suttas, by constantly reflecting on impermanence. Anyone can do this. You regularly meditate on impermanence. I've said this many times, so many of you know what I mean. If you don't know that, you can ask me. Alright? So, we're talking about karma. We're talking about karma as death. So many of these sufferings and pains that come to us is by, we have done it before, and so the result comes back to us. So in a way, whatever pains we suffer, we should say, never mind. Why never mind? Because it's past karma ripening. So if someone comes to you and tries to hurt you, if you're really a true practitioner, then you say, thank you for making me suffer, because you have removed my karma for me. Sadhu. Why we can do that? You're on the way to awakening. Not simple, right? You see, some religion tell you somebody slapped you on the right cheek, give the left cheek, right? I never met anyone doing that in that religion. The Buddhists are the ones who do that. So, I'm not saying this is easy. Of course, you have all the arguments, why should we do this, and so on and so forth. Yes, you are right, logically. But there's a way out. Sometimes we cannot fight some of this karma. They're so powerful. So in a sense, we just let it go. Why? Because everything is impermanent. This bad karma will pass, and then something better will come out. In my life of doing Dharma work, I faced some really difficult things, Very often I feel like giving up. And my suffering is because I love the suttas very much. Sometimes people they don't want me to teach the suttas, because why? Sutta would say what monks don't need to use money, monks live simple lives, or someone don't like it. In fact, now I'm not teaching in the university, so already it's taken over by this. I don't know who's taken over of this university groups, So they're carrying chairs in the temples now. So I said, wow, that's good. I got holiday now. I can do more time to do my sutta work. So for me, go to Dhamma talk, also happy. Don't go, also happy. Don't go, I got more time to go. I teach Dhamma. I look at their face, they're happy, also good. So in other words, these are the challenges. Our past karma ripens. If something really bad happens, usually it is past karma. Now, I'm not saying we should resign ourselves to past karma. In other words, the moment you go out, somebody steal your bag or steal your things. Oh, never mind, past karma, thank you. It's not like that either. Okay, what I'm saying is you have to be mindful, and you're doing something very good, and yet something bad happens. Don't know how to explain. Probably past karma. And then you tell yourself, let me be patient. You know why? Because the more you fight it, the worse it gets. So you know what, this is what's coming. So use your compassion, use your patience, let it pass. It's like an old debt you have to pay. This is one way of looking at it, using patience. One more point. You find that in our lives that sometimes there are people who like to hurt us. For some reason, they don't like us. They seem to enjoy hurting us. Everyone's life was somebody like that, sooner or later, right? So here is where, when you try to do loving kindness and you come to the fourth stage, you try to send loving kindness to this person, wow, very hard. Very hard. Yeah? In our public classes, those early years I used to teach the 4 stages, the 6 stages systematically. The 4th stage is the dreadful, showing loving kindness to your enemy, people you don't like. First stage is very easy, smile, may you be well and happy. Okay, 4th stage, send your loving kindness to your enemy. Suddenly everybody will glum and unhappy. After that, during feedback time, they say, why should I send loving kindness to this person? It's so bad, and all kind of complain. Then I realized beginners, they're not ready to send loving kindness to people they don't like. So now the first lessons in public, I don't teach the fourth step. Again, I was surprised yesterday, mother and son, they love the loving kindness. And I didn't say anything. In the feedback time, both of them said, oh, this loving kindness is so wonderful, I even send my loving kindness to people I don't like. I said, hey, this is great. I didn't say anything. They gave the feedback themselves, So I said, this is wonderful, sadhu. So this is where the karma of these people have ripened. If they could do loving kindness like that, they would have done a lot of good things in the past. So it's a wonderful thing to see this. So, what do we do if people just love hurting us, causing us trouble? The first thing you must understand is these people are not happy people. I think we all agree they are not happy people. Because if they are really happy, they will not hurt anyone. So, you should pity them. If you switch to pitying them, you say, oh, these people are, why are they hurting me? Because they're not happy. They're not happy, so they find someone to hurt. Yes, maybe I have some faults too, but they could have been kind to me, but they just can't help it. People can help it, they won't be nasty. They can't help it. That's the first thing. So number 2, you show compassion. Compassion means what? Being kind to people even when they don't deserve it. Compassion. So send your loving kindness to them. And I tell you, loving kindness is very surprising, It can change people. Suddenly they say, how come you're so kind to me? And they change. So this is the power of compassion. That's why Kuan Yin is so popular. Right? So this is a bit of story about how to deal with karma. Let's look at the sutta now, page 66. Hina Sutta. Look at the reference number, A6.45. Right? A Anguttara, 6 is book of 6 things, and then Sutta number 45. Page 66, 66, right? So here the Buddha goes straight to the teaching. First look at the heading. The heading, you have worldly poverty, right? Can you see the subheading there? And then on the page 67, the subheading is spiritual poverty. I'm reading the worldly poverty section. Poverty, bhikshus, is suffering for those who enjoy sensual pleasures in the world. So it is, Bhante, monk replied. The poor bhikshus have nothing in need, gets into debt too. Being in debt, indeed bhikshus is suffering for those who enjoy sensual pleasures in the world. So it is, Bhante. So here the Buddha says, having any kind of debt make us uncomfortable. There are a lot of problems, right? We have a house and we got to pay the bank 20 over years. If you calculate the amount you pay to the bank, it's more than double. The bank is not making money, right? But this is a modern problem. But here in India, it's worse, Okay, so Buddha says if someone is poor, and then this person also has sensual desire, a lot of one this, one that, so they can do that. This is suffering. So this is the first point. Second point. Number one is that the poor, they want to enjoy sensual pleasures. Number two, they go into debt. Number three, the poor bhikshus having nothing in need, having gotten into debt, promises to pay interest too. The interest to bhikshus is suffering for those who enjoy sensual pleasures in the world. So it is one thing. Right? Sometimes the interest is more than what we borrow. And then number four, the poor bhikshus having nothing in need, having gotten into debt, having promised to pay interest, is unable to pay over time and is pressed by the creditors. The creditors come and ask for money. Being pressed for it too, bhikshus is suffering for those who enjoy sensual pleasures in the world. So it is one thing. So now, we got debt collectors. You know, our binding center, our next, we share the same unit, but the next room, it's a big company, Singapore debt collector. I tell you, they're so insecure. Wherever the boss goes, they've got bodyguards, and they close up the whole place. It's like a castle, the doors, thick glass door, self-reflecting glass, you can't see inside, you see yourself. And then the door is automatic, you got to plug in the code. They don't even put your name outside. The minding center out there. And then you key in the code and then the door opens, you go inside. And then the big light there, feng shui light. They keep away all the bad luck. And then more glass doors. Then you got very small word minding center there. Okay. So, and then one day, someone said, hey, why you don't have any name outside? You're big problems or what? And they quickly take their signboard, paste over our signboard without telling us. Because how can money suddenly gone and use the debt collecting company? We got to complain and say, please don't paste, simply paste your signboard over our notice. Of course, we are practicing Buddhists, so we're not violent people, so we didn't cause any trouble. We just tell them, please don't do this. So you can, even the debt collectors themselves are not happy people. They make a lot of money, but they're not happy people, insecure. And if you owe people money, you got to pay interest, and then the debt collectors come to you, very uncomfortable, suffering. Next point, number 6. The bhikshus having nothing in need, being pursued, but does not pay, and is bound up for it too. Get tied up, get caught, and then tied up, being bound for it too, bhikshus is suffering for those who enjoy sensual pleasures in the world. So in India, in those time, these debt collectors, they can catch people and just tie them up, 7. So it is bhikshus. So if bhikshus, the poverty is suffering for those who enjoy sensual pleasures in the world, that being in debt, I'm just reading the keywords, that interest, that being pressed for it, that being pursued and being bound. So all these are stages in debt. These are all suffering for those who enjoy sensual pleasures in the world. So in other words, instead of working for it, this person wants to enjoy life, borrow money, and then get into trouble. Bad karma is like that. Then what about spiritual poverty? Okay, this is the next one. This is what the Buddha is addressing us now. Page 67, section 8. Even so, the moment you see the word even so, that means the Buddha is switching to the Dhamma side. Even so, bhikshus are the monks. For one who lacks faith in wholesome states, lacks moral shame in wholesome states, lacks moral fear in wholesome states, lacks effort in wholesome states, lacks wisdom in wholesome states. This bhikshus is called poverty, having nothing in need in the discipline of the noble ones. Higher meaning of poverty. You got two kinds of poverty. People have no money, they want to enjoy life. So that is worldly poverty. They want no problem. Even, in fact, monks are very poor. The monks have nothing. They're supposed to be like that because they live simple lives. They can move around happily. There's a story of one monk who lives a very simple life as forest monks. And he also goes to prison to counsel the prisoners. He's very kind and compassionate. So the prisoners also found that Buddhist teachings very wonderful. And they're very curious about this strange-looking person who walks around in the blanket, got no hair. So he says, what are you? He said, well, I'm a monk. What is a monk? Said, well, we renounce our life. What's meant by renounce? That means we don't have television, we don't have cars, we don't have bank account, we don't have a lot of things. Actually, the television was not mentioned. He said, I don't have car, don't have wife, don't have property. Then the prisoner asked, you mean you don't have TV also? He said, no, no TV. Then the prisoner said, my goodness, your life must be really boring. Huh? Even in the prison, we got TV. So anytime you feel bored, you can come visit us and watch TV. See, even the prisoner pitied the monk. Huh? And this is the real practicing monk, right? Anyway, so the Buddha said, but what is real poverty? Spiritual poverty is when you don't have faith, no moral shame, no moral fear, no effort, no wisdom. Faith here means wise faith. Faith in what? Faith in doing good. If you say, oh, what's the point of doing good? You do good, people take advantage of you. You say, yeah, no faith in good. We know that if you do good, yes, maybe you suffer at first. Sometimes people cheat us also, take advantage of us when we do good. But that is because we don't have the last quality, wisdom. If you have all this, then you know how to do good. Moral shame, moral fear. This is moral virtue. Moral shame means what? You reflect, you say, oh, I better don't do this bad act, Because if I do this bad act, my friends find out, then, I'll be ashamed, right? Let's say, for example, I got very angry with somebody on the roadside, And basically the person walked and knocked me down. And I get very angry, I start making a scene in the MRT station, And if I do that, you can never know. There are a lot of people who know me, they don't say that. They don't say that. And they're watching, oh my goodness, Piya got very upset on the train station, it spread like wildfire. Right? Then people say, oh, he's not calm himself. Right? Then I'll feel ashamed. So we reflect on that. We should not commit a bad act because people talk bad about us. That's one simple reason. The second one, moral fear. If I do this, I create bad karma for myself. People may not see this, but the karma will act on me. Moral shame, moral fear. So moral shame is more like respect for others, for society. Moral fear is respect for the Dharma, something like that. Yeah? And you got to make effort if you want to be a truly happy Buddhist. Effort here means what? To train your mind. Try your best to keep the precepts. Try your best to practice mindfulness, some kind of meditation. You can read some Dharma books. Spend quiet time with yourself occasionally. And then wisdom arises. Wisdom here means constantly reflecting on impermanence. That's another way of cultivating wisdom. So these 5 things, if you have, they can be called the 5 treasures. You are rich. Now if you compare our life, my family, we are really poor. You can pick any monk out there during a funeral, chanting monk, I can tell you they earn much more money than we do. They can easily earn 10,000 a month. And we don't, we are very poor. But we are happy, we have a roof over our head, we can do what we want to do in terms of the Dharma. We don't need much. The Dharma worker does not need much. In a sense, economic-wise, we are richer than the forest monk, but poorer than the city monk. City monk or all kind of things. Right? So the Buddha says this: if you are poor spiritually, that's really terrible. But you can be rich spiritually, practice the Dharma. Then next one. Indeed, this one bhikshu who has no faith, moral shame, no moral fear, no effort, no wisdom, he conducts himself wrongly through the body, conducts himself wrongly through speech, conducts himself wrongly through the mind. This bhikshu is his being in debt, I say. So in other words, when someone doesn't have these 5 treasures, they will commit bad karma through the 3 doors. This is called the 3 doors of karma. Body, speech, and mind. 3 kinds of karma. Body, speech, and mind. You know your chant, kayena, vacha, chittena, right? Kayena, body, chitte, kayena, vacha is speech, chittena is mind. 3 doors of karma. And if you create bad karma in this way, then you owe yourself. This karma is going to come back. 10. This one who has cause to hide his wrong bodily conduct harbors bad desire. He wishes, let no one know this of me. He thinks, let no one know this of me. He says, let no one know this of me. Shows bodily, let no one know this of me. So in other words, this person tries to hide this wrong act by number 1, wishing. He wishes that nobody will find out. Number 2, he thinks, and then he says, and then he acts also. So these are different ways he tries to pretend that karma won't come back. What, to make matters worse, there are religions that tell you, oh, you can come to our temple, our great guru can purify your karma. No such thing. No such thing. You cannot purify your karma. But you can do good karma. When you do good karma, the bad karma, like seeds, they have no chance to grow. Whenever you think positive, negative thoughts cannot come. We come back to loving kindness again. If you regularly practice loving kindness, there are a number of suttas that tell us your bad karma will be limited to this life at the most. It will not follow you in future life. You have done something wrong, unmindfully, the bad karma will not hurt you badly. It will somehow appear because conditions are right, but you will survive, we will survive if you have loving kindness. That's why loving kindness is very important. Loving kindness is your assurance. No matter what happens, you'll be safe. Always practice your loving kindness. And then the second, number 11, the person, this one who has cause to hide his wrong verbal conduct, also thinks that he wishes, he thinks, he says, and then show bodily action. Let no one know this of me. Whatever evil deed I've done, keep it secret, don't tell people. And then wrong mental act also. He thinks that nobody will know. The more you hide this, the more interest you pay. So this is the interest. Very interesting how the Buddha says it. It is the interest. That is why monks, they often confess, They did something wrong, they will confess to an elder monk. But confessing is a big responsibility, Because if you confess to the wrong person, this person will tell you, it's okay lah, I do worse things. Oh, then you end a bigger problem. That's not confession, right? Confession means what? You say, I feel really bad about this. And then teacher asks, okay, what did you do wrong? Okay, I did this. Teacher will say, do you understand why it is wrong? If you say, I don't know, teacher will explain. And then you say, yes, now I understand. And then you have more strength not to do it. That's why sometimes confession is not easy. You got to tell it to a mature, wise, compassionate teacher. So the teacher can help you. Of course, one easy way is you can confess to the Buddha. You go to the shrine, and you just go there mindfully, calmly, you say, I've done some bad things. I know I should have done this. May I be strong to accept all these faults, that I won't repeat them again. That's the reason why we recite those verses, Kayena, Vacha, Chittena, Pamadena, Mayakatan. Notice the word Pamadena, Mayakatan, which I've done out of heedlessness, not mindful. So this is where you got to be mindful. So remind yourself. 13. The well-conducted fellow brahmacharis or companion in the holy life speak thus of him. And this venerable one acts like this, conduct himself like this, and this is called being pressed. In other words, The other mom also say, oh, this mom also does bad things. So when you hear people talk bad about you, you feel trouble also. That's called being pressed. 14. And when he has gone to the forest or to the foot of a tree or to an empty place, he is pursued by bad, unwholesome thoughts, bound with remorse, regret, guilt. This is being pursued, I say. So this is where sometimes people do bad deeds, and then when they meditate, the thoughts come, hinder them. Right? So that is why moral virtue is very important. Now the positive side here is, like I said, there's still hope. You must strengthen your loving kindness. You must learn to forgive yourself, forgive others your hurt you also. Then you get up. Right? So here the Buddha is saying, if you don't do that, then these thoughts will come and haunt you. You are trouble. Because why? You have a lot of, still the selfishness very strong. You're not forgiving, then the negative thoughts will come. So if we really want to be good, in our hearts we forgive people, all those who hurt us. But that doesn't mean, we're not saying that you allow people to bully you, do bad things. Because if you allow that to happen, you are making this other person do bad things also. In other words, learn to say no to this negative person who's trying to hurt you. Just say, no, I don't want to talk with you, I don't want to argue with you. Please do not create bad karma. May you be well and happy. That's one way. So we must be strong to tell this person. Even if we get ourselves into trouble. I've told this very often to a lot of temple leaders, who sometimes try to use me. They say, I want to give you a job, to become a manager in this temple. I said, no, I want to be a Dharma teacher. Because I would then think that as Dharma teacher, I should not be supported in any way. But I must work like an office worker in the temple. But I said, that's not the kind of work I can do. I can't do that kind of work. I won't be very good. The real reason is, sometimes some people, you can't work long with them. Very mobile. This person very fierce, very, what you call, asura-like, you say. So the workers always give up after some time. So I have to say no to them. But sometimes they can be so persistent, I have to tell them the truth. I said, no, I can't work with you because people don't last long with you. And you got to examine that, I tell them. I'm telling you this as a Dharma teacher to you. Of course, I know they get upset. But they also know I'm telling the truth. But I know that will help them. So this is where of course, this one, as a Dharma teacher, maybe it's difficult for you if you are not a Dharma teacher. As a Dharma teacher, you have to tell the truth, and sometimes telling the truth can be costly. But if a Dharma teacher is afraid to tell the truth, there's no hope for you. So these are risks we have to take, and when you take a risk, you must be willing to face the consequences. But you have loving kindness, you won't be afraid. So be strong with loving kindness. And then 15. Indeed, bhikshus, this one who is poor, having nothing in need on account of having wrongly conducted himself through body, through speech, and through the mind, he after death, when the body is broken up, is bound with the fetter of hell, with the fetter of animal birth. Bhikshus, I see not a single other fetter that is so violent, so harsh, so painful, that creates such an obstacle as the realizing of the supreme security from bondage. So that is to say, bhikshus, this fetter of hell, this fetter of animal birth. So to be born in hell state, animal state, very difficult. You get caught there, you get stuck there. So this bad karma will bring this person to be reborn in suffering states. So the teaching ends there. And then the sutta finishes off with a poem. Dalidiyang dukhang loke ina danan jawicchati dalido inang araya bunjamano vihanyati. It's a poem. It's 8 syllables to a line, like Dhammapada. Poverty is painful to the world, and being in debt too, I say. Debt takes hold of the poor. While enjoying or consuming, he is afflicted. Tato anucharanti nang bandanang pinigacchati etanhi bandanang dukkang kama laba jiva pinang. Kama laba bija pinang. Then they follow him, and he suffers being fettered. Fettered means tied. On account of this painful fetter, prayer is muttered for pleasure's gains. Tatewa Arya Vinaye Saddha Yasana Vichati Ahiriko Anottapi Kapakama Vinichayo. Even so, in the noble discipline of those who have no faith, they are shameless with no moral fear, who consider or who accumulate bad karmas. Kaya ducharitan katva vachi ducharitan cha mano ducharitan katva mamang janyu ti pichati. Having done wrong conduct with the body and wrong conduct with words, having cultivated a bad mind too, he wishes that no one know this of me. Let me just read the English. He creeps along with his body, his words or his mind, increasing his bad karma here and there, ever and again. Notice the word creeps along, like an animal. He who does bad deeds is foolish, creating wrongdoings for himself. Death takes hold of the poor while enjoying or consuming he is afflicted. Then they follow him, painful thoughts and heart. Whether he is in a village or in the forest, for him they are born of regret. He who does bad deeds is foolish, creating wrongdoings for himself, going to some other womb or is imprisoned in hell too. For painful is such a fetter from which the wise frees himself. With Dharma gotten wealth, his mind is bright with giving. Both ways he has a winning throw, living a household life with faith, enjoying good here and now, and happiness hereafter too. Thus, for such laymen, their charity grows as merit. Truly, in this very discipline of the noble ones, whose faith is established, being one with moral shame and moral fear, wise and restrained on account of moral virtue, indeed, in this discipline of the noble ones, he is said to be one who lives happily. Gaining spiritual happiness, he firmly stands in equanimity. Having given up the 5 mental hindrances, he ever exerts himself cultivating dhyanas. He is single-mindedly focused, wise, mindful, knowing true reality thus, having destroyed all the fetters, free from clinging, with a right mind or a true heart, he is liberated. For him, rightly liberated, has the knowledge. Such a one is he thus, my liberation is unshakable. Destroyed are all the fetters of existence. This is indeed perfect knowledge. This is the supreme happiness, sorrowless, painless, secure. This is the best freedom from debt. Right? In other words, becoming awakened, becoming Buddha, becoming Arahant, free from debt, no more mental suffering. So this is a bit on karma, nature of karma. So karma occurs to body, speech and mind. Even if we hide karma, the fruit still comes to us. And if you practice lots of loving kindness, then you will prevent the fruiting of bad karma and you start doing good karma more easily. Okay, any questions?
How about karma in relationships, like for example, parents and children? Is that also some kind of debts that we pay?
In a sense, yeah, in a sense. Yeah. For example, the fact that why should we be grateful to our parents? Let's say parents are good, okay? That's the first case. The most important reason is very clear. That is logical, very spiritual. Our parents gave us human birth. You may have good karma, but if you can't find the parents, you won't be born a human birth. So number one, human parents give us human birth. Our mothers give us human birth. More important than that, during the first 7 years, our mothers, our parents humanize us, make us human. We are born human, but we do not become human merely by birth, if you know what I mean. If this little newborn infant happened to be lost in the forest and raised by monkeys, raised by wolves, and there are cases of this, they will behave like those animals. So there are stories in France and India where they managed to catch this kind of what we call feral children, and they try to humanize them. They just can't. Too late already. Past 7 years old, they can't change already. But their mind already, I don't know how to say, animal level already. So our parents give us body, human body, as well as humanize us, give us that humanity to behave like human beings. For that, we are grateful. So I had this big argument with my adolescent son. You know, they're very intelligent nowadays. So he wants pocket money, and his argument is, you are my parents, you gave birth to us, so it's your duty to support me. That means you got to give me whatever money I need. I said, wow. So I said, that's true, but you got to be grateful to us too, because we gave you the human body, and we humanize you. If you left it to the monkeys, you wouldn't be enjoying all these things. It's not easy to teach children nowadays. You got to really give them clear facts, you know. Then only they accept it. So I told myself, what have I got into? You know? Sometimes the more intelligent you are, your children are more intelligent than you. Then you got to be very patient with them. Yes, there is that karma. We owe each other, not just one way, both ways. Our task as parents is to give the best we can for our children. At the same time, we've got to give them space for them to grow the way they can. And we've got to be, in a sense, strict with them in a sensible way. You have to tell them what parents should tell them, even if they may hate you at first, because once they mature, they go beyond teenage years, they'll look back and then they will say, thank you. Because if you didn't do that task, because for example, there's many kids, they're caught up with playing computer games for hours, And we have a neighbor friend, she says, oh, I did not tell my kid not to play, he will get very angry. Now once you're like that, then you are just contributing to the addiction. You just got to fight this, and somehow you got to meet halfway at this, and the child will listen. My children do listen. Very stressful, yes. You have to make a lot of effort, yes. But it is well worth it in time to come. Because I always look ahead. I said 10 years' time, or when they grow up, when they finish schooling, when they're married, they'll look back. What would they say? If I didn't say anything, they'll blame me. They say, you didn't say anything. When I was doing this, you say anything. I don't know what to say. So I told myself, you won't blame me in the future. I'm doing this now because I know in the future, if you look back, you'll be a good person, and I know the good things you will say. No need to thank me then. Just listen to me now. So there is this back and forth karma, not just one way. So anyway, don't worry, it's not too difficult. Have more Buddhist friends. Don't suffer alone. Talk to other people, experienced parents. They have their stories, they will tell you. Even in the schools, they have parenting programs nowadays. So it's good to learn all this thing. You need this kind of wisdom. And if you are already parents of your children all grown up, you know that once they are grown up, you find they can think for themselves. Okay, any other questions?
Paying back such kind of so-called debt, how is it to be done?
You mean which side, from which side?
Let's say from the children to the parent.
Well, the Sigalawada Sutta mentioned a few things, right? To support the parents, help them. Of course, in Singapore, the government is telling parents save money, make sure you're independent, even if your children don't help you. But still, it's good, parents just and the children to just visit the parents, just to be there for them, especially when they are old and incapacitated. Sometimes old people feel a bit lonely, so they feel good if people talk to them. And I think that's good. Sometimes old people, they become lonely, they won't say it, but they suffer. If they're grouchy, it's not because they're grouchy, it's because they're lonely. Or maybe they're fierce, and then we're afraid when we grow old. What's going to happen to us, and then we are sick, we don't know how to say it, we don't like to complain too much. That is why there's a whole area of study called gerontology, what happens to old people, how to treat them. So as young people, we just be there, visit our parents, see what they need, and see what we can do for them. Sometimes their needs are great, sometimes not much, so we just respond accordingly, and see what we can do for their health, something like that. For the parent side, like for me and Ratna, we have this attitude, like we have no children. We take care of them, but we don't tell them anything, but in our mind we say we don't expect anything. If they don't support us, fine. We just go on teaching. Maybe we will be what's called MIA, missing in action while you're talking. And it's a great way to go, So don't be frightened that I heart attack while I'm talking Dharma. It's a great way to pass away. Teaching Dharma. passed away in action. Oh, that's wonderful. Rather than being knocked down by a car somewhere and this terrible. So what I'm saying is that they help us or not, it's up to them. Of course, if they're filial, that's wonderful. You can't force them. They must do it willingly, happily. On the other hand, I think from what we have done, I have faith that they would be good people. They would somehow respond in their own way. So we can't say these are all uncertain. Karma is all uncertain. Yeah, but if you do your best, you do your metta, things will work out. Under normal circumstances, people will want to do good. They want to be happy. Any other questions? About 6 minutes more. Yes?
Sometimes I wonder in what realms I have been reborn again and again. I wonder to myself. But now suddenly I feel very happy that I'm born in this realm, human realm. This is the realm where we have the chance to learn, to cultivate, and to get out of it.
True. Exactly. Right now, right here, this is heaven. The real heaven. Not our things, not up there. Because if you go up there, wherever it is, once your karma finish, it is snake and ladders, go straight down to hell.
Yeah.
The sutta said that. Because when the karma finish, it's like you go for holiday and money gone, next karma takes over. Unless you're a criminal, you're a saint. Okay? As a human being, you go on practicing, make sure you reflect on your impermanence. Then during the last moment, this habitual karma will take over. Make sure you have joy, wise joy, and then the rebirth will be a happy one. Even if you're reborn in the heavens, somehow you will never fall to the subhuman planes. So as human beings, the 5 precepts preserve us, protect us from, preventing us from falling below the human state. We do not want to fall into the subhuman planes. Subhuman planes, animal world, Preta world, Asura world, hell state. We don't want to fall into that state. But remember, you don't need to be reborn there to fall there. When you get angry and violent, you fall into the hell state. When you're addictive, you fall into the Preta state. When you measure people, you bully them, you make them work, and that's all you can, nothing else. The Asura world. If you don't want to learn, you live by fear, superstition, animal world. So it can happen right here. By studying the Dharma, by building our wisdom, we keep ourselves on the human plane. And if you do loving kindness practice, you rise to the divine levels. Brahma Vihara. That's why Brahma Vihara is so called. Brahma, the perfect abode. Brahma's abode. Okay? Any other question? So today we wish all the new committee members all the blessings of the Triple Chen. Wish them well and happy. And also Brother Leo's birthday. It's just the right time. So may they all be well and happy. Okay, let us close with a short reflection. Today we have gathered together happily in this very heavenly moment to study the Dharma, to clear our minds of worldly thoughts and attachment, and at the same time to create a lot of wonderful good karma by studying the suttas, spending this moment here, sacrificing our time and energy to work for this Dharma center with such thoughts which are good calming thoughts. May our minds quickly focus. May we be at peace with ourselves. May we make success in a happy way. Most importantly, may in this life itself we attain spiritual liberation, namely stream winning. At this point too, let us send our loving kindness to all the beings here, to all the people who work for this place, who come here. May they all be well, may they all be happy. And also to our relatives and friends, wish them well and happy. And for those whom the Dharma have not touched, that the Dharma may come to them. May all beings be well and happy.
Sa
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.